Hi guys, welcome to the Wrestling Retrospective, and in this video I'll be doing my review for Night 1 of WrestleMania. So first off on the show we had Rhea Ripley defeating Becky Lynch to retain her Women's World Championship. This was good. It was more or less exactly how I expected it to go. It served a purpose which, at least in my opinion, was to solidify Rhea Ripley as the future and present of the women's division. It was definitely Rhea's biggest win of her reign so far. For me, it was better than the Charlotte Flair match that Rhea had last year at WrestleMania. I do worry though what is next for Becky Lynch, as she's more or less done everything other than win Money in the Bank, and that's a few months away. I wonder whether she might take some time off or something like that. I'm not sure. Maybe go to a part-time schedule, but yeah, I don't know what's next for Becky. As for Rhea, surely we're going to get the Rhea versus Liv feud. They teased a bit before this really got setting off and going again. But either way, I thought this was a really good way to start the show, and say Rhea Ripley's dominant reign carries on, and who beats her, I'm really not sure. I would have picked Jade Cargill, but she signed with SmackDown, but then there is talk of a draft, so maybe they put Rhea on SmackDown or something like that, I'm not sure, but yeah, it's a really good way to start the show, and Rhea Ripley is still the Women's World Champion. Following that, we had the Tag Team 6-Way Ladder Match, who was won by two teams, which we kind of expected in a way. I thought we might get new design championships, but we had Awesome Truth win the Raw Tag Team Championships, and we had Waller and Theory as A-Town Down Under win the SmackDown Tag Team Championships, and this was a really fun match. Again, it served its purpose, which was to finally split up the Raw and SmackDown Tag Team Championships. Awesome Truth were the right choice to end the kind of storyline between R-Truth and Judgment Day, though I'm not really looking forward to their reign, as I don't find R-Truth particularly funny. And as for Waller and Theory, it was an interesting choice. From a dynamic standpoint, I understand that they probably want one face team or one heel team to get the win here, just on either side, as just the aspect of face and heel. But Waller and Theory haven't had that much success as a tag team, and I feel like it's just a really out of nowhere choice. Obviously, there was talks at one point that they weren't even going to make it into the match, let alone win it. So, yeah, very interested to see what happens with that one. And the only issue really with the results is that, again, we have 4 tag team champions, and I'd say all of them are singles wrestlers, not really tag teams, or they've been put together just for a now thing, which is very annoying in my opinion, as there are so many good established teams already on the roster. But it's a really fun match. I would question the result, though obviously Awesome Truth wasn't a surprise at all. But yeah, good match wise, questionable who won wise. Next up, we had Rey Mysterio and Andrade defeat Santos Escobar and Dominic Mysterio. The match itself was pretty good. I was enjoying it until the kind of final sequence. The 2 NFL players coming in was so random and kind of made no sense in my opinion. There was nothing kind of to suggest this was going to happen at all. It just felt like quite a cheap way to get those guys on the show in some capacity. But what especially made no sense is that the LWO technically had more numbers than Legado, and yet they're the ones that got the help from the NFL players. But for me, and what I find is the biggest issue with this match, is the wrong team won. Dom and Santos needed the win so much more than Rey and Andrade. Andrade could quite easily have recovered from this win, and Rey is a veteran. He should be putting people over. Look at the likes of John Cena, Randy Orton probably tonight. Putting people over in their old age, helping other guys out, and Rey just keeps winning against people like Dom, like Santos, like Andrade back in 2020. If you even look back in the annals of time, he'd never put Eddie Guerrero over either. But they're supposed to be best friends in the whole wide world. But yeah, it's ridiculous to me that Rey Mysterio just won't put anybody over, and it just fuels my absolute hatred for him. Because as much as people want to love him, he is a massive heel. People used to shit on John Cena and Triple H for not putting people over, and yet they love Rey Mysterio. It's so hypocritical. But yeah, as I said, really good match for what it was. The finish was crap. The result was totally wrong. And yeah, it's a massive shame. I'm glad that Andrade got a win at WrestleMania, but I felt like Santos and Dom deserved it so much more. After that, we had Jey Uso defeat Jimmy Uso in what was a huge disappointment. We're all looking forward to this match going in. You know, twin versus twin. They built it up on YouTube by doing the vlog of Jey Uso and a bit of Jimmy in there as well. I think the match started off fine, but as soon as the first like 3 or 4 super kicks happened, the quality of match just went downhill drastically, as it was like only super kicks. They were super kicking each other like Gunther chops people, and then people would like reply back with a punch, and it was just super kick, super kick. I think there was like 20 super kicks overall. You know, Sami Zayn took 16 on his own last year. There was 20 between the two of them this year. Jimmy tried the emotional bullshit way of getting out of the match, and then tried to trick Jay. Jay nearly fell for it like a typical babyface. And then yeah, Jay got the better of Jimmy and hit the super kicks and the splash and got the win. The expectations were so much higher, and this match fell flat as a fart and was nowhere near lived up to the hype it had. And yeah, just massive disappointment in my opinion, and just pretty crap match. As I said, I expected so much more and got so little, and it'll probably go down as probably the worst match of the weekend, including Stand and Deliver and both nights of WrestleMania. Next up, we had Jade Cargill, Bianca Belair, and Naomi defeat Damage Control. Again, not to sound like a broken record, but this match had a purpose, and it, based on assumptions, it was to show off and get over Jade Cargill, and it did that perfectly. Personally, I would have preferred anyway, Jade Cargill having a singles match against somebody, but this was fine. Damage Control lose a big match, that never changes. It's very hard to take Damage Control seriously as a unit, as they lose so much as a unit. Obviously, Io on her own is great, and the Kabuki Warriors as a team are great, but Damage Control as a whole lose all the time, and yeah, it's hard to take them seriously at all. Belair is still undefeated at WrestleMania, which is good for her, I guess. Naomi was there. She kind of was the one that Damage Control targeted throughout the match before the hot tag for Belair and Cargill came. But yeah, for me, it was all about Cargill, and it was kind of mission complete as far as getting her over. She had a huge reaction when she came into the ring and she hit Jaded. And yeah, as I said, there was only really one reason for this match, and that was to put full concentration on Jade Cargill, and they did that to a T. So yeah, for me, fine match and kind of purpose complete really. Following that, we had Sami Zayn defeat Gunther to become the new Intercontinental Champion and to end Gunther's incredibly long reign as Intercontinental Champion. This was a good match. It was one of the better matches of the night, though the standard overall wasn't great. But would I pick Sami to be the one to beat Gunther? Not really. Was it built like Sami was going to be the one to defeat Gunther? No, not at all. That's the problem I have here, is that Zayn wasn't built correctly before this match. I worry that Sami, Sami's past Intercontinental title reigns have been very mediocre in my opinion, and I just hope that this is better overall. I'm very open to having my mind changed, but in a way I hope it helps on both. As far as Sami gets a good reign in and kind of changes my mind about him as an Intercontinental Champion, but also Gunther is now elevated to a main event scene, especially going towards Bash at Berlin at the end of August. But as a decent match, the finish was very good. The brainbuster on the top rope looked brutal. I would probably put Sami Zayn as the new Mr. Kickout at 2. John Cena passing the torch to Sami, as once again, like last year at WrestleMania, Sami got the absolute piss kicked out of him, and he was kicking out of everything, even though he looked down and out for the most part. But I don't like that aspect of Sami Zayn matches, but I get the whole, he's very resilient and his heart's in it and all that good stuff, but at some point it makes it quite unbelievable as far as, no one else will be able to take this kind of punishment, but somehow Sami does. I don't know. I had an issue with it last year when he was taking 16 super kicks and still was kicking out at 2. But I would say that's the only real downside of this match, was that Sami looked down and out of it way before the finish. and somehow brought himself up to get the win. But yeah, I said, am I glad that Sami's champion? Not really. I would have preferred somebody else. I'm not the biggest fan of Sami Zayn, but I'm more invested in the fact that Gunther might be elevated more towards the main event scene than I am Sami being champion. So in that aspect, I'm very happy for Gunther, but Sami Zayn being champion, I'm very hesitant about, but I'm open to having my mind changed. And finally, in the main event, we had The Rock and Roman Reigns as the Bloodline defeat Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins. This was great. I think about like all the questions that kind of we were having going in were answered, especially just as far as night one of WrestleMania for this, all this Bloodline stuff went. It was a good prequel to what will be the real main event tonight between Cody and Roman. The Rock looked fine. The tag match worked as far as like not being too much for Dwayne, and kind of he wasn't like too gassed up, or at least it didn't seem like it to the most part. I took the piss throughout the match, but he looked fine. Rollins didn't turn on Cody, or at least hasn't yet. For me, he was the best wrestler out and out in that match. And yes, he got hurt, but that doesn't really surprise me, as that'll be worked into a story between him and Drew McIntyre tonight in their title match. So that made perfect sense. Roman and Cody will now be Bloodline rules, which again makes sense. Cody took the pin last night, which puts the element of doubt of Cody winning tonight. But again, it's like the purpose of this match was met. You know, I have no real complaints about it. I thought it was great. It set up all that what we needed for tonight, which were Bloodline rules, which I expected. And I did think Cody was going to take the pin, just above that line of doubt under whether Cody will get the win tomorrow. Not tomorrow, today. Which I think he will. I think he definitely will get the win today because he took the pin last night. But we will see when I'm back here in like 24 hours doing the review of night 2. But yeah, so again, purpose served. Cody took the pin, which I think made sense. Rollins is hurt, apparently, so that'll work as far as Drew goes. And The Rock didn't look too bad in the ring, and Roman's just Roman. So yeah, no complaints from me here. Decent main event. Overall, night 1 of WrestleMania was good. I feel positive about it. What I will say is what served its purpose did very well. What didn't serve its purpose was very frustrating and very disappointing. I am very excited for tonight. LA Knight versus AJ Styles is going to be great. Bayley versus Io, and of course, Bloodline rules between Roman versus Cody. I'm sure you guys are too, so I'd like you to like and subscribe, comment, share all that good stuff. Follow the Instagram and me on Twitter if you want. And I will see you guys tomorrow for the review of night 2 of WrestleMania. And I'll thank you all for watching. I'll see you later.